Hello, welcome to the Flask channel. Today we're gonna be segueing a bit, okay? Because we're gonna be discussing what's the difference between a byte string and character strings, which are related to the binary data type, the var binary, and the blob data types. So the counterpart of that one in strings is the char, the varchar, and the text. All right. So basically, what's the difference between a byte string and a character string? So TLDR, too long did not read. So this is the shortcut. So in a nutshell, basically binary is used for computers to understand. So it's basically meant for computers, and the characters are meant for us humans to understand and comprehend. So we're gonna be discussing also some terms that might help us out in understanding the byte string and the character strings, what they are, and how do they kind of like relate, and how do computers use them. All right. So we're gonna define first a bit. So a bit is just basically the ones and the zeros, or basically you're on and you're off. Since our computers in the modern world tends to run on electricity, so it has two states, off or on. That's why one is on, zero is off. Okay, that's a bit. And then the the character, or the so-called byte, is actually composed of 8 bits. So that's the sort of ratio. And a bit is also the atomic level of a computer's data organization. So it's the smallest part. So basically that's the on and off. All right, then we're gonna move up to byte string. So the only thing that a computer can store to its memory is called a byte or a string. So, and of course the smallest is the byte, but usually it tends to store it per character using 8 bits. For example, a character is actually encoded to a byte so that a computer can understand and use it. Okay, we're gonna go to that one later. So it is the actual encoding that the computer is actually using to store and use a data. All right, so we're gonna move on. So what is a character string? Basically, a character string is just an abstraction from these byte strings and is decoded so that we humans can understand it. Again, the keyword here is it is the abstraction. All right. So I know it's kind of hard to absorb right now, but just give me time, all right, to explain it. So we explained 3 things: bit, byte strings, and character strings. So there are other terms that are related to it. So next we're gonna move on to character encoding, or for short, just encode. Okay. So it is a set of rules how to store data that a computer can understand. So that is encode. So it's just a rule. All right. And the reverse of that one is called the character decoding or decode. So it is a set of rules. So again, it's rules on how to extract data. So it refers to a byte string. The data right here refers to a byte string so that a human can understand, and then it is the reverse of the encode. All right. So just a quick example, if you have a letter A, that's your character string and it's already decoded. All right. So once you store it to the computer, you need to encode it and it becomes your byte string. All right. And if you want to retrieve that specific information again, you have to decode it from the form of a byte string to a character string so that you, as a human, can understand it. So that's how it works. And the Next term is the Unicode. So basically, it's related to the character encoding and decoding. So what is a Unicode? So a Unicode is the standardization of the character encoding and decoding, wherein all computer manufacturers, software companies agreed upon to have a consistent rule. All right, and Unicode can be implemented in a different character encoding or the so-called character set or CHAR set, and that's for the shortcut. It's just a shortcut for the character set, usually called CHAR set. Okay, so an example of a character encoding or a character set is UTF-8, UTF-16, an ASCII character, binary, and so on and so forth. So it is actually, there's many character encoding or so-called character sets. All right. And if you break down the word Unicode, uni means one. So it basically means in a nutshell, one code. All right. And then of course the sole purpose of this standardization is the interoperability of different computers. I'm talking about the hardware and also software. For example, browsers. So pretty much you can open a browser in your Windows 98 machine. You can open a browser on your Linux machine, which runs under a PC-based hardware. You can open a browser on your Mac, right? You can open a browser in your phone, iPhone, Android phone, and Samsung tablets and LG tablets, and then iPads or what have you. So there is interoperability because of the standardization of the character encoding and decoding. So that's the purpose of it. And to show you some examples right here, for example, a browser. So you can actually see that it's using the character set UTF-8. It's not only the database is using it, so there's a lot, including browsers and websites. So let me show you that one. So I'm in the apple.com website since I'm running Mac. So I got a Mac OS, and then I'm gonna inspect this one, and we're gonna try and locate if there's any UTF-8. Alright, as you can see, there's 7 of them. So let's try to go and look for it. Okay. Alright, this is the first one right here. Char set or character set. So it's just the shorthand. And they're using UTF-8. There's another one. Char set. UTF-8. Here, this JavaScript file is using the same thing. Another one, a JavaScript file. Okay, also a JavaScript file. Okay, same deal. JavaScript. Another JavaScript. So pretty much it's kind of like being used not only in your database tables or database for that matter, but also in browsers and some other parts. All right, hope that's clear. And then let's define character sets. So character set is basically the set of characters that is available that you can use for different languages. For example, UTF-8. So we're gonna actually pull up this one. So for example, these are the kind of like the mapping for UTF-8. So this is the English characters. So if we try to move it, you can see that it contains a few more other characters. So yeah, this is kind of like the Arabic. Um, this one looks like the Indian language. I don't know what's it called. Okay, so you can see definitely a lot of characters in one character set. Okay, so I think the first one, if I'm not mistaken, is the ASCII. So it also has character representations for that. Okay, so let me just try to move it someplace else here. So you can see it even has emoji, of course, braille. Then just let's go look for a Japanese or Chinese characters. Looks like this is Chinese. There we go. This is Japanese. This portion right here at the bottom. Okay, let's go back a bit. Okay. So yeah, that's the meaning of a character set. It's just the set of characters that you can use on different languages. So depending upon the character set that you use, so it depends what's the availability of those characters. All right. And then also, just to simplify stuff, to store anything in a computer, you must first encode it and then convert it into bytes or byte strings. So, for example, not only characters, but even audio files. So, for example, if you want to store music, you must first encode it to an MP3 file. I'm sure you're pretty much familiar with that, a WAV file, etc. So if you want to store a picture, you must first encode it using PNG, JPEG. Some of you folks out there who actually used Adobe Photoshop or maybe MS Paint or GIMP for Linux, so you'll see that it will let you select certain file extensions. All right, and then the text, which we explained earlier. So it relies on a certain encoding type, which is, for example, UTF-8, UTF-16, etc. Okay, so I know this is confusing to you, but let's just, again, we're going to segue a bit for the purpose of understanding the byte strings or the binary types and the character types or the string types, okay? So we're going to be using Python. So demo using Python's function encode and decode, all right? So these are just functions. All right, so I'm going to invoke the Python interpreter. So I'm going to say Python 3. So that should pull up the Python interpreter. All right, so I'm going to pull up a basic, so let's create a basic sentence. So let's say, I love to learn. Okay, and then this is actually a character string. Why? You can understand it, okay? So if we'll try to encode it into, say, we're going to be using the type of character encoding or character set, which is UTF-16. So as you can see, it gives you this binary format. By the way, the B here stands for binary, and this is the actual binary string. As you can see, it's encapsulated by a single code, just like your ordinary string. All right. So this will be the format. Well, not really exactly how it looks like in the hard drive, but close enough that it looks like that. Okay. So this is gibberish for you, but for a computer, it understands this. That it means it's the sentence, I love to learn. Okay. So that is encoding. Now, if you want to decode it, all you need to do is copy the same string, then dot decode, because that's how you use the function in Python. As you can see, the result right here is I love to learn. Okay, and there is another example here that depending upon how you use it and depending upon how the character is being used, uh, it yields a different result. So for example, this is a binary string right here. and it's decoded by UTF-8. It gives you those Chinese characters. And if you try to compare it on the next line, it's actually one and the same thing. But he actually changed it to UTF-8, and it gives you this other character, even though they're of the same binary value, but it's decoded in a different format. So let's try it out to see if it really works. Okay, let me just try to clear it out. All right, there we go. That's Chinese. And this one should yield like a Russian character. I don't know if it's Russian or something. There we go. So that's the example. So right now you know how to decode and encode. All right. So you can actually browse these links here. Anyways, I'm gonna include it in the description of the video down below. All right. So this is the format for audio files. So the so-called audio encoding. So some of it are pretty much familiar, which is the MP3, WMA, OGG, and some other or something else. Okay, and then for video, there's also a lot, and then of course the Unicode. All right, so you can just browse through it. Okay, and just a fun tip, I actually prepared something here, a little mystery fact. So I got a binary code here, which is quite lengthy, and then we're gonna try to decode it. Okay, so we're gonna be using UTF-16. So what the heck does this mean? So we're gonna decode it using UTF-16. So decode UTF-16. All right, so it's just a simple request, guys, for you to please consider subscribing to the Flash channel. All right, so don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to our channel. And if you want to donate, please go ahead and visit the Patreon page. All right, so once again, thank you so much for visiting the channel, and you have a nice day. Bye bye.